For such tiny creatures, bees have one of the biggest jobs in the world.
Hi, I'm Katharina.
And I'm Frederik.
And we're using machine learning to better understand how nature works.
And we're doing that by observing bees.
Bees have a symbiotic relationship with nature. Plants depend on the pollination of bees, including the fruits and vegetables we eat every day.
Bees and other insects are dying around the world, and we do not know why.
We don't want a lack of knowledge to be the reason bees continue to disappear.
I thought we have to do something about it. So we built a hive monitor that uses a camera to track the bees as they come and go. Bees always return to their queen. If we observe 500 leaving the hive and only 200 returning, we can assume that there's a problem. To plant trees and flowers, so bees can continue to power our ecosystem. This tech is only the first step. Us humans will have to take it from there.
Hi, my name is Sanjana Shah.
Hi, my name is Aditya Shah.
And we figured out a way to use machine learning to predict wildfires.
This is biomass.
So basically, the officials, especially like the firefighters and all, used to go out into the field and measure the biomass manually, and that takes a lot of time and money. That inspired us to create a smart wildfire sensor that'll be able to predict beforehand the risk of a wildfire happening so that the officials can be there on time.
Our device is unique because it combines weather data as well as real-time fuel classification. In our case, we used TensorFlow, Google's machine learning algorithm, to predict what a fuel looks like at a forest scene without having to physically go there, and it did work. We got an 89% accuracy, which we are proud of.
Hello, my name is Alejandra.
And I'm Erickson.
And we're using machine learning to find potholes on the streets of Los Angeles.
LA has over 7,400 miles of roads and freeways.
That's a lot of roads and a lot of potholes to fix.
Right now, construction workers have to manually inspect roads for dangerous potholes and cracks, or rely on people calling in tips, which takes a lot of time.
While studying at LMU, we started to see if we could figure out a faster way to identify potholes throughout the city.
First, we needed data. So we rigged a camera to a car and we drove around to capture footage of different roads and freeways.
Then we used TensorFlow, Google's open source machine learning tool, to develop a model that could quickly identify potholes, road cracks, and other weird stuff with a high rate of accuracy. Which means workers can spend less time finding potholes and more time fixing them.
Consultare documenti storici, soprattutto documenti medievali, richiede sempre molto tempo, molta pazienza. In Archivio Vaticano abbiamo 85 km lineari di documenti, più o meno la lunghezza del canale di Panama. Le scritture scritte nel Medioevo sono diverse da quelle che noi conosciamo. Se qualcuno mi chiedesse un giorno di trascrivere e tradurre tutti i documenti dell'Archivio Vaticano, sicuramente gli direi che è un matto.
Looking at this book, page by page, and trying to decipher, read and transcribe whatever is there takes an enormous amount of time. You would require an army of paleographers.
What I'm excited the most about machine learning is that it enabled us to solve problems that up to 10, 15 years ago we thought unsolvable.
In Codice Razzi è nato da quest'idea di costruire un software per poter interpretare, per poter leggere quello che è scritto dentro i manoscritti. Quando abbiamo iniziato ad approcciare il problema ci siamo resi conto che una soluzione basata su reti neurali fosse assolutamente necessaria. La scelta su TensorFlow è stata abbastanza naturale.
Before using any kind of machine learning model, we needed to collect data first. You have thousands of images of dogs and cats in the internet, but there is very little images of ancient manuscripts. We built our own custom web application for crowdsourcing, and we involved high school students to collect the data. I didn't know much about machine learning in general, but I found it very easy to create a TensorFlow environment. When we were trying to figure out which model worked best for us, Keras was the best solution. The production model runs on TensorFlow layers and estimator interface. We experimented with binary classification with fully connected networks, and finally we moved to convolutional neural network and multi-class classification.
In poco tempo siamo riusciti a sviluppare e a testare le prime soluzioni.
When it comes to recognizing single characters, we can get 95% average accuracy.
Poter accedere a uno strumento informatico abbrevia notevolmente. Sciogliere certe abbreviazioni, comprendere un testo in quella scrittura così criptica è un qualcosa di eccezionale.
This will have an enormous impact. In a short period of time, we will have a massive quantity of historical information available.
I just think solving problems is fun. It's a game against myself and how good I can do.
Lo studio della storia è importantissimo per comprendere il nostro presente e per avere anche una prospettiva per il futuro.
I often look at the news to find problems around the world. I heard about the Zika virus outbreak, and I wanted to use gene editing techniques to help prevent this from happening. And then I heard about Malaysian airlines going missing. So I created a black box finder. But then I found out about Flint, which was one of the biggest problems I'd ever seen. My name is Gitanjali Rao. I'm a scientist and an inventor. In 2014, Flint switched their water source from Lake Huron to the Flint River, which caused lead contamination in drinking water. The part that hit me the most was that there are all these children who don't deserve unclean water to drink. I wouldn't want that to happen to me or my family, so why should it happen to them? I saw my parents testing for lead and other contaminants in our drinking water, and it wasn't reliable, it was inconvenient.
The current test for lead can take up to 2 weeks. That is quite expensive and is very laborious to get a result.
So what I wanted to do is create a lead in water detection tool. I came across this new technology using carbon nanotube sensors and wanted to expand the idea to detect lead in drinking water. In the beginning, I wasn't even sure if this idea would even work. I needed guidance and I needed a lab.
When I met Gitanjali, I thought that she conducts herself pretty much like an adult. She's combining the skills of an engineer, of a scientist, of a designer. So we decided to partner up with her because we have a common goal to provide safe drinking water.
When they offered me the lab space, I come home and I start screaming my head off. It's like, ah, or something like that. I was so excited. I knew that if I could get this to work, I could help so many residents of Flint. My device is named Tethys after the Greek goddess of fresh water. To create Tethys, I went through a lot of different versions, and now it's a 3D printed, fully wired device. In order to test for lead in your water using Tethys, you attach a disposable lead sensor cartridge specially treated with chloride ions. If the water has lead, it sticks to the chloride ions and causes resistance to the flow of current. So the more resistance, the more lead. To display the results, I wanted to create an app. So I used Android App Maker because that's what was easiest for me for my first time creating an app. I connected the device to the phone using Bluetooth, and I could see my results of either safe, slightly contaminated, or critical.
She's just amazing. She's taking advantage of that knowledge and that passion to build something that is for the benefit of humanity.
Coming to Flint just makes me want to work harder. People are lined up for hours waiting to get bottled water, which won't even last them a whole month. I know my device only solves a small part of this huge problem. But if people can test their water themselves, that gives them the power to do something about it.
Society tells you that you can't do certain things because you're a child or because you are a female. Seeing someone like Gitanjali, so eager, so smart, so prepared, she's pushing the envelope, not only for herself, but for other generations to come.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the TensorFlow Project Showcase culminating activity. So my name is Kurt Silvano. I'm a IT project manager at Senti AI, and with me is Ana Mogato, the business marketing associate also in
Associate,
Senti
yes.
AI. Hi, Ana. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Kurt. So, how is your very lovely Saturday?
Oh yeah, it's very hot in here. You know, my fan is on, but I'm still sweating due to my light. It's a necessity nowadays. No, how about you?
Yeah.
How's your afternoon?
Yeah, so since it's very hot, I turned on my aircon even if it's still daytime. So, good luck to our bill for this month. So,
Yeah.
to everyone who's listening or watching us right now through Facebook Live, we hope that you have a very wonderful weekend. So, Kurt, why are we gathered here today?
Yes, so thank you so much, Anna. No? So we are here again to have our culminating activity for the TensorFlow Project Showcase. So ano nga ba tong TensorFlow Project Showcase? It's actually a project showcase. No, it's a competition that were launched, I think, last October. No, and when where we ask our experts in machine learning to explore the possibilities of using TensorFlow by creating an end-to-end open source platform for machine learning. So this initiative aims to showcase Filipino talents in building applications that uses the capabilities of machine learning. So we actually ask our participants, who can be either an individual or team, to submit their applications, no, and their projects until March 19, 2021. So we extended it up to this year. And we are very, very lucky that a lot of people actually participated. But we have actually 3 finalists, yeah, for our project, TensorFlow Project Showcase. So I'm very, very excited para i-announce, no, to announce our winners, the 2 winners, lucky winners from the 3 finalists for this project. But of course, our participants submitted their own original work and haven't been submitted to any contest. And then the application submitted to the contest was actually publicly accessible via web or mobile, and it's an open source project. And the codes are uploaded to any publicly accessible repository such as GitHub. But Anna, can you tell us how did our judges choose the 2 lucky winners for the TensorFlow Project Showcase?
Right, right. So, of course, we have to be very objective when it comes to choosing the winners. So, first of all, we have to consider the functionality of the app. So, does it work? Does it work well, of course? And did the team achieve the goal that they defined for the app? And was the solution that the app was attempting to do innovative? So for functionality, the judges have to give it up to a score of 30%, and then of course the highest, 40% a score should be technology. So was it technically impressive, or was the app rather difficult to build? Did it use a particularly clever technique to pull off? And did the technology involve say the audience, or did it go out really amazing? Next, of course, we have to consider design. So design the overall score. So put thought into the user experience, and the design is the interface. So of course, you could be really smart and talented when it comes to coding or creating or making good, but is it easy? Is it the users? And I guess I think we're missing another criteria, but I think those three are the things that we have to consider for now. So again, the functionality, the technology used, and the design. So the highest
Wow, that's pretty much, no?
person, yeah. So the person with the highest person, which is worth $100. So to whoever those people are, those who created really good progressive apps, improve the way that we live. Congratulations in advance.
Yes, congratulations. And I'm very, very excited to know who are these two people who actually won the heart of our judges and who will be lucky to receive that TensorFlow developer certificate, which is worth $100. And so thank you so much, Anna, for the criteria for judging and our prizes, of course. And before we go to the welcome remarks, of course, we would like to remind everybody to please stay tuned at the end of our program, because there will be a lot of chances for you to win some of our prizes, such as the Google Home Mini and Chromecast, through our raffle. But stay tuned until the end of the event for the instructions. So without further ado, ayan. And of course, don't forget to invite your friends as well to watch, because anyone are qualified to join the raffle later. Just follow our instructions. And so for us to do some welcome remarks, we are very privileged to have with us the lead artificial intelligence advocate from Google. Google San Francisco, we have Laurence Moroney.
Hi, and welcome to the TensorFlow Project Showcase. I'm Laurence Moroney, and I lead AI developer advocacy here at Google. I'm really excited to see events like this one happening, where the community, like you, is leading the way in developing amazing solutions using AI and machine learning. AI applications are, by definition, potentially able to solve problems that are either too difficult or infeasible to solve with traditional rules-based programming. So this opens up the possibility to build the type of applications that can change the world. From crop disease detection on an Android phone to applications in health, science, and a whole lot more, the opportunity to make a difference is open right now. With that in mind, at Google, we open sourced TensorFlow just a bit over 5 years ago, and we continue to innovate on making it a better platform for the cutting edge scenarios and an easier platform to use for developers like you and me. I want to congratulate everybody that has joined the program, and whether you're a winner of the prizes or not, you're still taking steps forward in this exciting area of progress, and you're pushing new scenarios and new platforms that can make us all winners. So please, keep learning and keep building.
Wow, thank you so much, of course, to Mr. Laurence Moroney from the lead artificial intelligence advocate from Google San Francisco.
All right. So before we announce the winners, of course, I think we should allot a little time for some meaningful discussions on how we could use technology to make things easier for everyone. For our first speaker for today, we have the co-founder of AI for Development and the Google development expert for machine learning, Mr. Kshitiz Rimal from Nepal. So he will be discussing this project that he created, which is building a cash recognition for visually impaired people in Nepal. So before Mr. Rimal gives his discussion, I would like to invite everyone to please listen. And if you have any questions, still feel free to comment them below in our Facebook Live, and we will see if we will have enough time to ask them for you. All right.
Hey everyone. Hello God. Hello Anna. Thanks for having me.
Hi.
Okay. So let me just share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Let me just go to this full screen mode. Okay. So the presentation here is called Cash Recognition for Visually Impaired. And it's a very different kind of project that I did a few years ago. This is a project that is, aimed towards helping visually impaired individuals in Nepal. And it's a project dedicated to make a positive impact to the society. And before I go further, I'm Kshitiz Rimal once again, and I'm Google developer expert on machine learning. I'm from Nepal, and if you'd like to contact me, here's my LinkedIn and Twitter handle. So, bit of background. Nepal, we have total population of 30 million people. And out of this 30 million people, we have 3 million who are differently able. And out of this 3 million people, we have roughly around 300,000 people who are visually impaired. And they are not, born visually impaired. Some of them, had an unfortunate accident event that, made them visually impaired. So keeping all that in mind, and this is a rough background, the number sometimes going up and down, each year. So yeah, the stat is actually a little bit old. So it can go up and down. So like I said, this project is this project is a couple of years old, and during that time we didn't have much of a digital payment, and we didn't have much popularity in the digital payment system in day-to-day financial activity. So a lot of our financial activity was heavily reliant on cash, paper currencies. So this paper currency that we have in Nepal, they are not very accessible, and especially not accessible to visually impaired community. They don't have a special marking in them, which allows visually impaired individuals to identify the value of the currency, the paper currency they are holding, by just touching them. So that makes, a daily monetary activity for visually impaired community very difficult. And especially difficult if the person, especially difficult if the person is newly, visually impaired. So it's a very, rough thing. It's a very difficult thing for their daily activity. So keeping that problem statement in mind, we have a solution to this problem called cash recognition for visually impaired. And this project actually was supported by Intel AI and the organization AI for Development, which I was a part of as a co-founder and head of research. So what we did is that we built an app essentially, which is accessible to visually impaired individuals, and this leverages deep learning technology that allows the app user to identify the paper currency the person is holding, and upon recognizing the currency, it plays the sound. It's in two languages, one in English and another in Nepali. So like the person, if the person cannot understand English language, the person can recognize Nepali language, and this is totally on Nepalese currency, not in other currency. So regardless of which language the person speaks, the app can work, and it makes the day-to-day financial activity easier for them. So let me talk about some of the challenges to this solution. So when we talk about building an app for a problem like this, it has a lot of challenges. And one particular is how we can make the app itself very accessible to visually impaired individuals. We know that they cannot see the screen, so we need to design the app itself that can be very accessible and giving some kind of feedback by just touching somewhere on the screen. So we need to make that app very UI independent. So the UI doesn't matter, the visual UI elements doesn't matter to the visually impaired individuals. So we had to make an appearance of the app and the functionality in a way that can be used by the visually impaired individuals. And one interesting thing is that many of the visually impaired individuals, they use smartphones with touch screen. So they have this accessibility tool enabled, screen reader enabled, that allows them to use any app which has this accessibility feature turned on, that plays the sound, and they can easily use this app using touch screen. So using that technology, using that feature in our smartphone, Android smartphone, we build this app which is very accessible. And another challenge is that Nepal is a developing nation, and we don't have a lot of good infrastructure of internet all around Nepal, and we have poor internet connectivity even in city area of Nepal. So we had to keep that in mind. And while taking a picture of something, there is always this issue of bad lighting conditions and the paper currency, the condition of paper currency itself. So we had to keep in mind all that element. So with that, what we did is that we built an app, but that app is like very accessible to visually impaired individuals. You can touch anywhere on the screen, and the app will take a picture, and that allows the visually impaired individuals to not concerned about where the button is and things like that. The person can touch anywhere on the touch screen, and it will instantly take the picture. And the person just have to place the paper currency underneath the mobile phone, so that the camera can take the picture properly. And the deep learning model that we use is on-device deep learning model, meaning that we don't rely on internet connectivity. We use TensorFlow Lite model, initially built using TensorFlow framework, and then converted to TensorFlow Lite, and then we embedded that deep learning model in our application, and that allows us to use this application offline without having this issue of internet connectivity all around Nepal. And like I said, the app uses both Nepali and English language, and the user can easily switch between the languages by just touching the volume down key in the mobile phone. And to address this bad lighting condition and bad condition of paper currency in Nepal, we use different data augmentation techniques like rotation, brightness, saturation, and things like that. So while training the model itself, we use data augmentation in our training set that allows us to handle all these different lighting and other issues. And with that, here's some metrics. So I have to say that initially in version 1 of this application, we use MobileNet V2 model, which is a deep learning architecture model, and on top of that we did this transfer learning with our own data set. But the current version of this application uses AutoML. So we use Google Cloud Platform and we use AutoML Vision to train the model itself, which uses this neural architecture search and transfer learning techniques. And with that, we have this latest accuracy of around 99%, and we have this precision and recall on our test set. And the data set itself, it consists of around 25,000 images that we manually took. So we use our own smartphone to take the different pictures of our paper currency. Like the paper currency, we use our own mobile phone, we use our own paper currency money, and we use different angles and lighting condition, different background to carry address all the variation. And with that we have like roughly around 25,000 images, and we split them into training and test set, and we test the model on 1990 images with 7 categories. And this 7 category is like 7 different paper currency that we have in Nepal, from rupees 5 to rupees 1,000. So we have the 7 type of different paper currency, and we address all of them. So this all data set is split into 7 categories. And we, like I said, we use this TensorFlow Lite model, and we use this technique of quantization, which allows us to reduce the size of the model itself. And the final TensorFlow Lite model size is 5.6 MB, and the total app size is roughly around 11 MB only. So this is pretty easy to install, even on your mobile data as well. So that was quite beneficial for us. And the inference time, the time it takes to take the picture and the model to give the prediction, it's roughly around 105 milliseconds. So the app is available on Play Store. So if you can go to Play Store and type this cast recognition for visually impaired, you can find the app, you can download and play with the currency. But this only works in Nepali currency, so you might experience some wrong classification in your own paper currency. So with that, and another thing is that we made this whole application, this whole project open source. So whether you are building similar project or not, if some element of this project is beneficial to you, you can quickly go to our GitHub and take out some part of the project or use the whole project itself. Feel free to do so. So we have made open source whole training code, iOS application, Android application, and details of all data set that we use, all are available online. So if you can go to this link, and you can easily play with the data set, add your own, retrain your own model, or even better, collect your own data set using the data set that we have. Like you can take it as a reference, you can use our own application. So feel free to do that. This is totally open source, and this is for not-for-profit. So feel free to tweak it to your own need to address your own community as well. Now, let me show you a demo. I am not sure if you can hear the sound, but let me try. Okay, so this is a brief demo of the application.
Please touch the screen to capture image. Rupee 100
Like I touch anywhere on the screen, and it will classify instantly. So this is the 100 rupees note, and as you can see, it instantly classifies. If I check the classification other note, like this Rupee 5 paper currency, you can see the paper currency itself is very dirty and torn off. It's a bit old paper currency, but it works there as well.
Rupee 10 detected.
You can fold the paper currency, and it will still work.
Rupee 50 detected. Rupee 50 detected.
with that, and we also tested our application with some live audience. So these are visually impaired people belonging to visually impaired community. They tested our app and they used our app while it was being built, and they gave us very important feedback that we could not get from anywhere else. So this is we built this whole application taking in consideration the live feedback from the people, the very people who will use this application. So as you can see, some pictures of live demo event that we did, and it was quite beneficial to tweak our application. Now, currently, the application only works for classification, but we are thinking of, like extending its capability to, count the number of paper currency the person is holding. Currently, it only works for one paper currency that the person is holding. And we are also trying to extend it to other currency like Indian currency or other currency of Southeast Asia countries. And basically the solution itself is very universal, so anyone who is willing to contribute to this project or extend this project to their own currency, feel free to do so. So this is a very universal solution, and I'm sure there are a lot of use cases out there in other countries as well that people can use this application to benefit the society. With that, thank you so much. This is my short presentation, and if you have any question, feel free to ask.
Okay, I'm on mute. So, it's really normal when you're doing some live like this. So we would like to thank again Kshitiz, Rimal, for sharing us a very, very wonderful work. So I think we have some questions here, but we will call you again right after the next topic. So we'll see you in a bit. Thank you, Kshitiz.
Thank you.
Okay, so very amazing, no, Anna? Let you know that we can use technology for this wonderful usage, no, in solving a lot of problems.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys know the K-drama startup. So I just got reminded of that. Yeah. So
That is true. Okay, so now I'm very Yes, that's true, Anna. So thank you so much, and I'm very, very much excited to call them again later for our Q&A. So if you have questions, so please just join the conversation by commenting your questions in the comment section. No? So now let's proceed with our next topic. So our last topic for today is actually moving your ML models into production. And I'm very, very privileged to introduce to you our next speaker, which is who is the Google developer expert for machine learning and the CEO of Senti AI, of course, none other than Ralph Vincent Regalado. Hi, Ralph. You're also on mute.
Palagi. You always forgot to turn our microphones on.
All right, so take it away, Ralph.
All right, thank you guys. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today at our TensorFlow project showcase, and extending our thanks to those who participated the program, and really, really impressed to those who have submitted the application. So for my talk today, I'll be discussing more towards how are you going to move your machine learning models into production. And probably some of our participants have already gone through the process of exploring how do I now, I build a model, How do I make sure that this model runs? And some of the key components and aspect was also discussed by Kshitiz. How do you make things how do you make the model run faster? And how do you make it easy for users to leverage technology itself? So it goes beyond the regular thinking of just like building it, but how do you make it useful? How do you make sure that it scales? And other considerations if you move it into production. So there are usually two segments of field in machine learning. You do either applied or you do practical machine research, like scientific machine learning, in which you try to push new boundaries and knowledge into the field itself. And you have what we call is like applied machine learning, in which a segment of that is production machine learning. And in a regular practice, if you are a practitioner and if you are a beginner, so usually you stumble on building different types of machine learning or using different types of machine learning models to run certain tasks, maybe building sentiment analysis model or building spam detection model, and applying this to existing data that you might have collected or might have used or captured using like Kaggle, or if you're joining such contests. And if you're a company, a lot of organizations now have seen the capabilities of machine learning, and manual process that they have been doing have been capitalizing the power of machine learning to help them operationalize their business and improve and bring more revenue to the business. So one of the projects that you might probably have encountered is the correlation of click-through rates. And one of the key problems, especially for retail stores, may it be if you're selling shoes or if you're selling different items on your Shopify account, or if you're a seller in Lazada and Shopee, one of the key deciding factors of you as an owner is to relatively look into click-through rates as a way for you to measure how much inventory to order. So this is just one of the many data that you're going to look into. And then since you're using those type of data, you can actually build a quick, simple model leveraging click-through rates by observing the inventories that you have ordered in the past and how people are actually clicking on your websites and clicking items that they have preferred. And once you have already built a model, you deploy the model, and that's it. Okay, so it's the usual process, right? That's the usual thinking, that you build the model once and then you deploy it, and then the model will do wonders, and the model will take care of itself and help you identify how much inventory that you're going to order next month. But one of the challenge really is that preferences, data changes, and it's kind of critical, especially if you are a retail or a company who's looking into a huge number of data. Okay, and then when you, for example, you look into the men's data shoes and you've seen that the accuracy really dropped, it's one of the challenge, right? Because you're not going to check every day if the accuracy for each of the model in each of these items are accurate or not. Right? It's kind of challenging. It's like adding you an extra layer of you doing a manual process, because you need to also now check if the model is still accurate, right? So you deploy the model, but again, there's still an extra work of you checking and monitoring if the model that you have developed is still accurate for use. And why is this important, right? Why do we need to look into this aspect? Okay, why do we need to monitor our models? Why is it not going to work once you deploy it once, right? So there's a lot of like challenges. Okay, there's a lot of challenges behind it, and one of the key factors of challenge is how do we even know if we encountered a problem, especially that we know that the machine learning model program that we have built has this type of accuracy. We publish it and that's it. But how do we know that there's a hidden problem when people are using it, when the business is using it? So that's one of the challenges when we look into the context of productionizing machine learning applications. It's not just building the model, but how do we make sure that it is still usable as it progressed towards its lifetime. So there are two types of problems that are common when we look into specific data. First are fast problems. It may be we were able to capture bad sensor data or there's a bad software updates. So those are some very fast problem that you can immediately recognize. The camera isn't working, or your audio is not working, or if there's a bad software update, immediately you can see that there's a notice on that. But there are also type of problem that is hard to detect, that you can only and it's slowly happening that you wouldn't even notice it. So for example, drift. Okay, you're not going to notice it that the number is slowly dwindling down or increasing. So these are type of problems that you might have encountered when you build machine learning, when you put your machine learning models into production. It's easy to resolve fast problems, but figuring out if there's an issue with your model drifting, it's kind of hard to figure that out. So sudden problems, again, it could be problem with data collection, bad sensor, bad log data. You were able to move or disable sensor or cameras, and your model wasn't trained for that, right? It was like quite interesting as what Kshitiz was demonstrating a while ago. Like even if you follow the paper, it's able to still recognize that type of money. So there's a consideration of like different types of pictures on angles and how the images would actually look like. But in certain cases, sometimes you build it on a context of like just seeing a specific angle for the camera, and your data would be with it challenged to like locate it, or would definitely mess up your data if it's moved. System problems. As software engineers, it's easy for us to like look into this. This might be a bad software updates that we need to like retract back to the previous version, or there's a loss of network connectivity, and system down or bad credentials, right? So, or if we're not able to like problems that you can easily identify, right? These are sudden problems. You will notice them immediately, and you can immediately resolve them, and you can easily see them and find ways on how you can mitigate this problem. And there are also gradual problems. This is like what we call like slower problems that it's hard to see. It's hard to monitor. It's like data changes. It is impossible sometimes for us to know if the data really changed. Okay, in the context of fashions, it's easy to see what probably are the next trend, what are the seasonality of that data. So seasonality of the clothes, probably during June or onwards, since it's rainy season in the Philippines, you're going to expect high purchases of raincoats. Okay, and you're going to expect during summer high purchases of like boxers, right? So there's a trend in seasonality, but in terms of like what's going to happen in fashion or what people would purchase in the next few months, it's kind of hard to decipher that because there's a lot of data out there, and figuring it out would be hard for us to look at. And even though that we have an idea as to like what are the season, data changes. Distribution of features also changes, and relative to the importance of features, it's also changing. Okay, and it's hard to monitor them. Also, the world changed. We changed. The pandemic changed us. The pandemic changed our lifestyle. Our competitors are getting much competitive, and that's another challenge because they need to cope up with the changes also, and you need to also be more competitive, and you need to change your strategy. And when companies expands to other geolocation or like other location, that data that they have captured in a specific locality, for example, in Philippines, if I expand it, it might not be relevant in Nepal, right? So same as the context of moving the application that Kshitiz built, right? So there's a change. If we're going to expand that to the Philippines, it needs to be contextualized to the paper currency of the Philippines. So there's just those changes that sometimes these are gradual problems, and it's based really on geolocation sometimes, or based on the seasonality and trends that's happening on the data. And why understanding the model is really important, because misprediction do not have uniform cost to your business. It might have a huge cost that it's okay to have an inaccurate model, or it might really close down your business if you're not able to monitor it. So, and the data that you have is rarely the data that you wish that you had, right? Because again, as our economy continuously grow, and as we generate more and more and more and more data, the data that we had sometimes is not even relevant anymore, because the newer data is the one that's going to be descriptive as to what the world really is. And sometimes the data that you're using is just a proxy for the business objective that you would want to push. Okay, and the real world really doesn't stand still. It changes. Therefore, the data changes. Therefore, the way that you manage your models, the way that you work with your models, you need to also be able to manage and able to handle those changes. So this is where production machine learning comes in, and let's discuss how production machine learning and change comes into play. So again, if we're going to look into the machine learning context, there are easy problems. If ground truth changes slowly, like paper currency, they don't change in the next probably 10 to 20 years, right? Not unless your government changes it every 5 years. So those are easy problems. But the faces of cats, the faces of dogs, they don't change, right? So you can actually build the model, and that model would be retained. Okay, so how do you manage this type of problem? So you just need to like do modular training by adding more data, or you leverage on existing data sets, or you make crowd-based data sets to complement the data that you have. But again, for existing tasks, there's a lot of like models, there's a lot of like data and pre-built models out there you can use. But for easy problems, so you need to look into really your data. Are those data changes quickly? If they don't change, these are a really, really easy problem. Harder problems are this where ground truth changes faster, for example, weeks, meaning fashion changes every week, okay? Or people preferences changes every week, okay? So the model you're training here is driven by the declining model performance, meaning if the model declines, if the model is inaccurate, it needs to now be retrained again with the new data that you captured. Okay, so therefore, labeling techniques here would be direct feedback and or be crowd-based, because we're collecting more and more data. Therefore, you need to also complement that with a new model that you're going to build, because you need to adapt to the changes. And there are really hard problems, so harder problems and then really hard problems. This is where the ground truth changes very fast. Okay, these are like your stock markets, in which they change in days, in hours, in minutes. And the same approach with the harder problems, that the model retraining is driven by if you are able to observe that there's a decline in model performance. And some of the labeling approach in here would be having a direct feedback to that, is this model working or not, or is the predictions are correct or not, or a weak supervision. Therefore, there's a human intervention to really look into the results of the model and try to observe if the performance is still relevant or not. So it's segmented into those three buckets, and you need to understand your space. You need to understand the task, you need to understand the industry that you're in, and you need to understand the data. Does it really change so fast? Therefore, the approach for each of those data is different. The way that you retrain your model, the way that you monitor your model will be different. So this is where machine learning comes in. We know machine learning. You guys know machine learning, and sometimes people think that modeling or machine learning model, that's it. Okay. So in addition to training an amazing model, there's a lot more that is part of it. Okay, there's a lot more that's a part of it. It's not just like building the machine learning model. There's a lot of tasks required. A production solution requires so much more, such as configuration, data collection, you have your feature extraction, data verification, machine resource management, you have your serving infrastructure. You also need to monitor. There's a lot of monitoring tools and process management tool, and same point in time, automating all of this process to observe if your model is still doing its job, or if it's time already to retrain that model again. So this is one of the tweets from Gina Blabber, and if we are really exploring moving your machine learning into production, if you have like diddle the word, you will definitely will be able to relate to this tweet. Like the story of enterprise machine learning. It took me 3 weeks to develop the model. It's easy now to develop model, right? But it's been more than 11 months. It's still not deployed. That's how challenging moving your machine learning model into production. Okay, so especially if you're going to look into production machine learning, what are the key aspects that we would want to consider, or that you need to consider? You need to consider your label data, your feature space coverage. You want to your minimal dimensionality. You need to also maximize the predictive data, its fairness, lessening biases, to be able to monitor rare condition and data lifecycle management. So there's a lot of things behind machine learning development. I will not be discussing this thoroughly because this is a completely different topic in itself. And in the context of like production machine learning, it is incorporating as well modern software development, in which you need to make sure that your solution is scalable. It is able to, if it's extensible, it can actually be easily to configure, can easily be, can be integrated to different solutions. It's modularized, it's consistent, it applies best practices. You need to be able to test them, monitor them. They are secure, and they're also safe to use. So if we're going to talk about production machine learning, it's not just machine learning. It's also adding that layer of modern software development, because you need to make sure that it runs on time, it runs on budget. Okay, that's the difference on like if we're going to move to production machine learning. On the high side, if we're going to look at it on a high level, people would always associate this aspect as the building a model phase. This is where the fun comes, right? Like I just want to build a model, pull the data, or like use TensorFlow, build the model, and that's it. And that's where the model is. But if you are actually building an entire machine learning infrastructure, this is the entire step-by-step process. And I know some of you probably have known this, the data preparation process. You need to acquire data first or collect data first. You need to clean them. You need to ingest that data. If there are any transformation that needs to be done, you transform that data. You check if those data are valid or not. You do some data preparation first before you really move into building the models. It's either you acquire an existing pre-built model, so you have ImageNet for that, and other pre-built model, you have GPT-3 that you can start immediately use and retrain the last layers with your data. So this is where the fun usually comes. You building the model, you optimize the model, you validate, and you train at scale, and voila, that's the model. You already have the model. And what usually people keep or it was what sometimes you usually stop and then that's it. But what you miss is this aspect of like rolling it out. So there's an aspect of deploying it. Are you going to deploy it on cloud? Are you going to deploy it on edge? And I think some of the key concepts was able to be raised by Kshitiz a while ago. One of the aspects, especially on edge computing or edge machine learning, is quantization. You need to make sure that you optimize the size or like minimize the size of those models so that it would be able to run or on smart devices, may it be on your smartphones or IoT devices. So that's where edge would come in. Or if you are keen on cloud, and if you're going to create an API, that's where you deploy it, right? And it's where the time that you're going to serve that model in which you're going to capture now more data and do your prediction. And sometimes people stop at this. That's it. Okay, we're going to stop at that. But in reality, there's a lot more that you need to look into. You need to monitor the performance. You need to log the performance. You need to be able to still explain why did even the machine learning was able to predict it this way, right? So there's a lot of things that you need to consider, and you need to consider now, especially if you are moving your machine learning models into production. And as mentioned, the monitoring aspect would be the one to help you really to observe if there is a decrease in performance. Again, capturing the challenges a while ago, the gradual changes. If your data is quick, therefore there's a decline per accuracy performance. So the monitoring and logging will be the one to help you monitor that and automate the process of like fine-tuning the model, retraining the model, and then having that cycle of like building the model again, training optimization, and then you have the model again, and then having that all out aspects. So this is the entire production machine learning infrastructure. It looks like so easy if it's summarized here, but in reality, if we're going to build it, it takes more time to build all of this. And this is where TensorFlow Extended comes into play. Okay, so TensorFlow Extended is a set of standard components for your production model needs, and it's flexible orchestration and metadata, and it's extensible with custom components. So it enables you to automate the entire process and move your machine learning models built in TensorFlow to the cloud. So TensorFlow Extended have been used in Alphabet's most important products. It runs your Gmail. It runs the machine learning algorithm recommendations of YouTube. It runs your Google Maps, your Google Assistant. So it is already have been proven to handle and have been proven to scale and handle a lot of requests and run machine learning models that give benefit to a lot of customers. And TensorFlow Extended powers not only products within Google, it also powers Spotify, Twitter, and a lot more. And it has been, they have been given the capability now to use machine learning to create much more better content to serve better their users. If we're going to look into the TFX production components, it's roughly similar to what I shown you a while ago, the generic approach of moving your machine learning into cloud. If we want to learn more about TFX, we will not be discussing this in this talk. I'm just giving you a quick summary of it. So it's a lot of components that involves data ingestion and data validation. This is like the first step, right? Up until the feature engineering. This is the first layer in which you're going to capture your data, perform several statistics of that data. This is where statistics gen comes in. And then you have your schema gen, which describes your data, okay? And then you have your example validator. And if there's any transformation that you need to be made, is where your TFX transform would handle it for you and manage it for you. And then next is the trainer. So there's a trainer. This is where your TensorFlow codes and your machine learning codes that actually build your neural networks would be run. So imagine the TensorFlow codes that you're learning This is just a trainer here. Okay, there's a lot rest of other components that you need if you move your project into production. And then you have your model analysis. This is where the monitoring logging comes into play. So in which they have an evaluator, in which the evaluator would check your model and see its performance. And you also have a pusher, which is a logical pusher. It just checks that if this model is performing good, that's the model that I'm going to now to push into production. So that's how, on high level, these components work side by side to automate the process of building, of moving your machine learning models into production, and making it easy for you as developers to put into place to monitoring the changes and automating the process of like rebuilding your model if there's new data, and observing if this model still works, and try to rebuild it again and have some automatic functions to observe and log as to like what's happening with your model. So if you would want to learn more again with TensorFlow Extended, you can go visit tensorflow.org/tfx, and there's a lot of components there, and there's even a tutorial there in Colab that would step-by-step guide you on how you can explore all of the components that I mentioned. And that's it for my talk, and I hope you guys learned something new. Thank you so much.
So I'm muted again. So I've been thinking when Ralph is discussing the topic to okay, I have to unmute myself and then before I need to talk. So but yeah, I still forgot. Anyway, so thank you so much, Ralph, for discussing the moving your ML models into production. So now let's call back again Kshitiz and Ralph to join us for some question and answer portion. All right. So I think we had a lot of things to learn. We really had a lot of things to that we learned this afternoon about first, which it is talking about building a cache recognition for visually impaired, and for Ralph, moving your ML models into production. So do we have any questions, Anna, in the comment section?
Yes, so we have one for Kshitiz. Anne Rochelle is asking if your app has an ability to determine if the money is fake or not.
At the moment, no. So it just identifies the value of the currency, and determining the currency itself is fake or not is a bit critical and difficult task, and it should not be handled like that with the app and things like that. So yeah, it doesn't check the like if it's counterfeit or not, but it just gives the idea of the value.
Is it even possible to do like it is?
I'm not sure. It involves a lot of processes, not just the image.
Right.
So the quality of the paper, the texture, and all
Right.
this, like secret ink and things like that. That needs to, goes into printing the paper currency. So yeah, it involves a lot of process. I don't think it's quite feasible with the application.
Agree.
Yeah, maybe we don't have the right technology for that yet, but maybe in the future, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much to Anne for asking that question. So maybe I have a question for Ralph. Ayan. So we are actually inviting and encouraging everyone to ask their questions by through the comment section, right? So join the conversation. So Ralph, my question for you is, what do you think is the biggest challenge in terms of moving your machine learning into production, and how do you think our audience can cope with that challenge?
Really depends on the objective of the project. So for example, if it's for example, on Kshitiz's part, it retains on the phone. So if the objective really is making it small, making it like fast, and it doesn't like need to connect on the cloud itself because there's you need to have data before you can use it. So there's a lot of context of like customer journey that you need to consider, the user experience and how the people will use it before you got to decide to which point that is it even good to put it on the cloud, or is it much more better to have that model retained on a specific device. So there's a lot of aspect in that. So once you have this covered or like figured out that okay, it's a cloud-based implementation or deployment. So you need to consider a lot of things there. You need to make things cheaper as well. You need to make things that you need to make it quick. So it also depends if the business decision making needs to be quick. So it always boils down to the discussion with your users, their need. If the predictions that they would be needing is it like every month, therefore you don't need that much. You don't need that scalable data, so you can like minimize costs. And again, observing if those data changes. For example, if currency change time to time, therefore it would be much more probably feasible to have that on cloud, right? Because if every day those data changes on time, so therefore it would be challenging to keep monitoring them, or probably a different approach if you need to pull that data. So it really depends on the use case, depends on the challenge. If you're going to decide which, maybe Kshitiz have a different answer, which I can add on that.
Yeah, a lot of my answer, like you already answered the thing. So yeah, that's the yeah. I quite agree. Yeah. Oh, nice dog.
Oh yeah, my dog just woke up, so she wants to join the conversation. Well, yeah, you know, it really boils down to the type of platform that you would want to choose for the specific problem that you're going to solve based on the requirements of your users, right?
Yeah, based on the requirements and based on the user needs, because it would be challenging also if, for example, are people much more comfortable using a phone or using a web, or if you're going to integrate a wider infrastructure of an organization. So there's a lot of like, key aspects into that before you get to decide it, dwindle down as to what really it is. And sometimes you need to also discuss cost. Speed also is important. So there's a lot of things. Again, it is aligned to software development practices of like making it scalable, making sure that the modularity of data is there, consistency, and all.
All right, so I have a question. So since we are talking about issues in terms of like how do we make things more accessible or easier for the users? So what kind of support do the developers need? Like let's say maybe as part of an organization or maybe partnership with other private or public institutions. What support do they need to, make these technologies more sustainable and more accessible for everyone?
Well, can you be more precise? I quite don't get what you're actually asking.
Sorry?
Can you be more precise? Like what kind of?
All right. So
yeah.
I actually had this. I was actually wondering about this question since after I heard about your discussion about your project. So your project is about helping the blind people like discern the paper bills that they're handling. So when it comes to like let's say currency, of course, I think the government maybe should be more open to partnering with developers such as you to help solve more problems like what Anne asked a while ago, if maybe it could help identify if the money is fake or not. And of course, you've mentioned that there is poor internet connection in some parts of Nepal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think like this problem, the exact question that you're asking can be answered in multiple ways. One is that the solution itself is very specific to a particular problem. That is the problem that is the visually impaired individual face using the current paper currencies. And like it's the issue with the government, it's the issue with the policy that creates such a paper currency because they are not accessible in the first place. But there is also like now like we made this solution to handle this current problem without relying on any agency or organization. And we just thought like, yeah, if deep learning can solve this problem, let's just do it. And fortunately we have some community helping us to spread the word and test the application itself. So that was super helpful, and they gave us quite good feedback, and we can improve on that. But well, like you said, the government should itself be aware of print, if they have to print such paper currency, that it should be accessible. And we know like the coins, they have this marking, and the people can easily identify the value with the coins. But a lot of the paper currency, they are now digitally printed and they don't have emboss or things like that, and visually impaired individuals can only identify the value by either measuring the length and the breadth of the paper currency, or they just ask around by experience. So yeah, the first thing should be like addressed by the government itself. But now that we are emerging into digital currency and online payment, and like money, mobile payment and things like that, this is an issue of the past now. There should be a lot of internet connectivity. Of course, it's an ongoing process. There are a lot of government in a lot of countries that are trying to establish network connection over the countries. It should be like the country, every part of the country should be accessible in terms of internet, and the people should go to digital payment and things like that, and it will easily eradicate such problem. So the project that I did was like this project was 2 years ago, and back then we didn't have much of a mobile wallet, digital payment culture in Nepal. So we just addressed the ongoing problem. But now the solution itself is not quite useful thanks to the digital payment, and I'm really thankful that it's picking up. And now it's being handled in different way. So I'm looking for a world, looking for like the future where we don't have to deal with paper currency itself, and that way, using this accessible tools, digital tools, and screen reader technology, visually impaired individuals can easily do online financial transaction with mobile and their computers. So yeah, I think that should be the world that we should be aiming towards. But right now, we did what we can do, like addressing the current problem.
I think just to add to what Kshitiz also mentioned, I think there are two things as developers you can do, right, to really make an impact. So it's either, as what Kshitiz shared, it's also driven by a team who really is passionate about like changing something. If you really care about a specific community, then you find ways on how you can work and collaborate with them. I think in some certain cases there are projects available that government agencies are keen on collaborating. So if you just another layer on that, it's either you push yourself to really work hard and then join into such events that you can showcase and find collaborators to make it grow further. I think Kshitiz was able to involve Intel in his project and involve even TensorFlow for this project. So it's really more on focusing on the aspect of like social good, and then having that what you build emanate its impact, and therefore people would get interest, would actually grow and grow more. And again, there's an aspect also of like agencies who are funding research. If you are really keen on research, I think Ministry of Science or like our DOST here in the Philippines are also like providing such funds, especially for students who are in the academic space or teachers or professionals who are around that space. So there's a lot of like intake. There's a lot of possible starting points. It's really the developers who would want to who should start by themselves to really push themselves to explore what are innovative ideas. And as mentioned by Kshitiz, the world is changing now, therefore we need to also adapt our methods, we need to adapt our approaches in terms of how we now use machine learning to drive new solutions moving forward.
All right, so thank you, Ralph and Kshitiz. We have another question from Facebook Live. So from Wesley George Amador. As Ralph mentioned a while ago, yes, the world is changing. So what do you guys think are the current trends that the ML community should focus on now in terms of great impact to society? So be it weather, business, or disaster.
Well, all of them, all of them are equally important. So yeah, we have diverse interests. All the developers have different interests, and some of them can address weather, some of them business and disaster. Like there is no one particular area that is less important than the others. So yeah, it's equally important, and I think everyone in our field, everyone in our domain are doing whatever we can, to address all these problems, and we are doing every day. So yeah, and with this open source technologies like TensorFlow, machine learning, the newer development in research and development in deep learning, machine learning, well, we can only imagine like what next we can easily solve these past problems, the problems that we're currently facing with the limitation of past technologies. So it should not be like what is more trending or more impactful compared to all this field, but if you know a particular problem and if you're interested in solving that problem, then it is equally important to solve that particular problem rather than comparing to other problems. They are all equally important.
Yeah. So just to add on to what Kshitiz mentioned, I think it also depends on the geographical locations. For example, probably in the Philippines, you have a different issue, right? So I think the pandemic definitely have an impact on our business. So are there any ways for us to capitalize on technology to provide jobs or to even train people to adapt to the new to the fourth industrial revolution, to have a new skill, especially that there are people who are really skilled in doing manual labor, and we would want to transition them to be able to acquire new skills, right? So that they're able to capitalize on the time staying at home, right? So there's a lot of like problems and changes that are focused on the geography, and it do change. I think based on the discussion also a while ago that the world changes sometimes. Probably would have if it's cross finger. Probably if we would want to monitor Tal volcano or like the situation in the Philippines, like monitoring earthquakes or monitoring seismic activities. There, you create something for that if that's where your heart is, and you would think that's a good impact. So there's a lot of me myself, I'm much more interested in like having any impact on environment. Probably you guys would have a different interest on like solving fake news or solving other key issues that really do matter for you. So it really depends on what do you want, what are you what do you think is your purpose and mission, because I think that would also be the driver of you pushing yourself, that this would make really a difference, because it's also your key interest, like working with your interest, and it makes the work not really work, but makes it much more fun to you to make an impact.
Yeah, I have the same answer with you, Ralph. No, you just focus on your purpose or your passion, even, in solving problems, because that can be your motivation, in terms of moving forward and and solving these problems. But just in case that you don't have any ideas about your purpose or your passion or what you're passionate about, maybe you can look into the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. Yeah. And then you can just look for some problems there and try to solve a particular focus, in terms of helping the society. So, yeah. And we have, I think, our last question for this Q&A. Oh, my doggies. So another one from CJ Byron. So the question goes, how do you build a team for building and maintaining the ML production infrastructure?
Go ahead, Kshitiz. You have an answer.
Yeah, no, I don't have a particular answer. Please go ahead. I can maybe add later on.
How do you build? It's hard because there's a limited set of skills. Therefore, you need to build the skill set. And there's a lot of the AI field and the machine learning field itself is continuously growing. And in terms of like the skills and the job roles, they're also like extending and growing. So you need to always be constantly be updated as to like what are the latest trends, what are the latest advancements. There's a lot of technologies out there. It's not only TensorFlow. There's a lot of like ways on how you can deploy machine learning models. So being aware that there are really changes is one of the key things. And if you're going to build a team, there's a lot of like aspects into it. Are you focusing on deploying it on edge, on mobile? Therefore, you need to have a different set of skill. If you are purpose is like to deploy it on cloud, therefore you need to have a different set of skills. So where you're going to deploy would have different set of skill required in order for you to move your machine learning into production. But in terms like, are those skills available in the Philippine market? I doubt. All right. So it's either you build that skill and you build that skill together with the team that you think that you can actually like work together with. Kshitiz, maybe you can add something interesting.
Yeah. So like this is very dependent on the problem and the deployment solution that we are looking to build. But if you are starting from scratch, starting with a good team of 4 or 5 individuals with a decent software development, modern software development ideas and knowledge, it's pretty good start. You can pick from there and build your knowledge on data science. How you can deploy production ready machine learning code, in things like that. So the backbone of everything, the backbone of this team is essentially software development. And even if you don't have like a very good like a 10 or 15 years of machine learning data science experience, you can easily learn that experience, learn that knowledge from where you are right now, from your software development background, and learn as you go. So the model life cycle and things you need to consider for deployment, like the quality of the model itself and things like that, they're pretty easy to learn nowadays thanks to the internet and all these online courses. It was a bit hard 2 or 3 years ago. Now we have a lot of resources, a lot of books. So if you have a team already with the software developers, like it's just a matter of months. You can make a good start from there.
All right. So thank you very much for your insights. I would like to reiterate again, if you really want to build and maintain your team for ML production, you have to be ready to always learn. And yeah, I've noticed here in Santi AI, all of our engineers are always studying for something. So they're always sort of preparing for some sort of certification. So if you're up to that challenge, then I guess you're ready to go.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Kshitiz, Rimal, and Ralph Regalado for joining us today for a very wonderful discussion about some trends in TensorFlow, and of course sharing your expertise to our audience. So thank you so much, Kshitiz and Ralph.
All right, thank
you very so much for having me.
Thank you guys. Thanks for listening.
All right. So now, Anna, what will be our next part of the program?
So I think we're going to announce who are the winners.
Yes, and I'm very, very much excited. And my dog, Kyoshi here, is also excited to join us in revealing the winners, the two winners of the TensorFlow project showcase. So again, the winner for this program will receive a 100 US dollar worth of TensorFlow developer certificate. So are you guys ready? I think they are all ready. So now, 100. Did I say it right? Yes, 100 US dollar voucher. Yeah, the TensorFlow developer certificate, which is worth 100 US dollars. Yes, that's the price for the winner. Okay, so let's hear it to announce again the winners for the TensorFlow developer certificate, and then for the TensorFlow project showcase program. We'll hear it again from Laurence Moorey, the lead artificial intelligence advocate of Google San Francisco.
I'd also like to congratulate Christopher John Bayron for the Audiate app. And I'm really impressed by the work that's gone into this app for detecting pitch and helping train one's auditory skills. I have zero music skills, and I tried my best to play what I heard from his app. I even tried humming what I heard, and it was able to guide me in where I went wrong. And I went wrong a lot. So super work, and it also runs in the browser using TensorFlow JS. So congratulations, Christopher John.
All right, congratulations, Christopher John Byron.
Yes, congrats.
So here with us today, and we're very lucky.
Hi.
Yeah, to have with us CJ. Hi, CJ. How do you
Hello.
feel?
Sorry about my camera. I'm very honored to be one of the winners here, and that people appreciated the work I did.
Yeah, I actually saw that video. No, it's really, really amazing that you can connect the music to the technology. So now I think we're ready to hear CJ for the 1 minute pitch again, so that our viewers can also hear your project.
All
Take it
right.
away,
Maybe I
CJ.
can share my screen.
Sure.
All right.
Hold on. Hello. Can you see my screen? Can anyone confirm this? All right. I think it's shown. Right. So, hi, I'm CJ. I created the Audiate app, which is a ear training game using ML models in the browser. So, it's how do you play it? It's a play what you hear type of game. So, what that means is the game will play a sequence of notes, and then the user is tasked to repeat that same sequence of notes. And in that process, the auditory skills of the user is being trained by practice. So I wish the machine that it comes with how the user interacts with the app. So using using a musical instrument or even the voice, you interact with the app. The app captures the audio through the device microphone and then passes it on a machine learning based pitch transcription model, which outputs the musical notes in real time. So in that way, it eliminates the use of musical interfaces such as MIDI, which for which you should have an instrument which supports MIDI. So with this app, you can just use any acoustic instrument like melodica, which I use in the demo, or even your voice, assuming your voice is can handle a stable pitch. So that's it.
I'm still. Oh my god, I'm sorry. That's a very very interesting teach, no, and a very interesting project, and I really would want to try that. So you can check out the Audiate app. Ayan, and in our comment section, that's cjbyron.github.io/audiate.
All right. So what's next?
So now we can maybe have some questions with CJ.
All right. So are you ready for a few questions, CJ?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I think I can start off the question. So what inspired you to create Audiate, and how do you think ML played a role in developing your app?
Right. So, well, I'm not very good. I don't have musical good musical skills myself. So I used to use an ear training game in Android, and the way it works was similar to what I did. It's gonna play some notes, but how I input the notes is you're just gonna press buttons on the screen. And so I thought back then, how about we make the input coming directly from an instrument? Like it's much more uh, like it much more it creates the connection from to how you really want the skills to basically where you want to use the skills, which is on playing instrument, right? So that's where it comes.
Okay. So you mentioned that you're not particularly talented in terms of music. Me as well. So what was the hardest challenge for you when you were developing Audiate? And of course, how did you overcome that challenge?
Right. I think the hardest part would be experimentation with models. So the model I'm using in the audit app is uh, probably the third model I use. So I started with polyphonic piano transcription models from Magenta, which is another TensorFlow based project. But unfortunately, it was not performing very well on this specific type of application. Uh, Fortunately, I was able to find this uh, model, pitch transcription model, which is called CREP, available open source and working pretty accurately and pretty fast. So the model size is only 2 MB, so it can run um, on your browser without hugging much resources.
All right. So, Kurt, do you have any other questions?
Yes, my question now for you is, what are your tips for beginners who are starting their journey toward building a skill in machine learning and TensorFlow?
Right. I guess my advice would be um, take advantage of all the resources available because there's a lot now. Um, Given that uh, like everything's online now, and also the machine learning community is really thriving. So and there's a lot of open source projects you can refer to. So yeah, and I guess just keep on experimenting. Always like get your hands dirty on these models. So of course you have to study concepts, theories, but uh, you'll accelerate your progress even more if you get your hands dirty with the models and projects.
Right. So I think my last question for you is, since you joined this program, what do you think is your major key takeaway or learning from this program?
Um, I guess building apps practically, like you don't have to spend all your time on building the model. Like from what I did, I actually just use a pre-trained pitch model, but the model, how do you turn it into something that's uh, impressive or useful to people?
Yeah.
All right. So before we let you go, CJ, and enjoy your weekend, maybe you have a very short and sweet message to our viewers.
Yes. Again, uh, just I believe all the listeners are uh, passionate about machine learning, so just get your hands dirty with machine learning models and projects. Keep on building whichever you like. Right.
All
All
right.
right. So again,
Thank you very much. And
congratulations
congratulations again.
for winning, and you will get. No, I have to read this first so that I will not make a mistake. You will receive a support to take TensorFlow developer certificate, which is worth $100. So again, congratulations, and we will send you the instruction on how to claim your prize. So again,
Thank you.
congratulations, CJ.
Thank you.
And now I think we have one more winner, right, Anna?
Yes. So, I'm not sure.
Congratulations to Gabriel Miguel for the TensorFlow app Wastify. And this is a really cool app that runs on mobile. It's available in the Play Store, and it helps you classify biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste. So now you know the correct bins to put particular waste in. And it's a great and a really cool idea. And more than just an idea, it's a full app and it's open sourced. So nice work, Gabriel. Thank you so much.
So congratulations to Gabriel Joshua Miguel, who created the Wastify app. Unfortunately, he can't join us due to some health problem. So get well soon, Gabby, and congratulations because you will also win a $100 worth of TensorFlow certificate.
All
For
right.
certificate.
So congrats, Gabby. I wish you were here so that you can answer some of our
The
questions
question.
because yeah, okay, maybe I could share a bit that I used to be a
Go.
reporter and I've covered environment stories. So I guess it's
Mhm.
one of my passion and I would really love to talk to Gabby about his app.
Oh yeah, maybe in another session we can have
Maybe.
him. If he's ready and well. So again, congratulations to our two winners, CJ Byron and Gabriel Joshua Miguel. So congratulations. We will send you the instructions on how to claim your TensorFlow developer certificate, which is worth $100. And of course, to our one finalist, we have Abby Lagar, who created the Farms Tech solution, the application is detecting plant diseases such as tomatoes and potatoes by capturing photo of the infected leaf. Um, Even though you didn't win the certificate, you will take home one of our prize, which is a Chromecast. So congratulations for being a finalist.
All right, congrats. So, I think we're nearing the end of our program. But before
Yes.
we do, what's the next on our agenda?
Of course, it's our attendance form. So please answer our attendance form here, flashed below below the screen. Okay, that's the ticker. So that's attendance form https://bit.ly. Okay. /3JLR I think we can comment that down. The link so that it will be
Right. Yeah, I think
easier.
that would be easier.
There. Wait, let me comment that down. Okay, so that you can answer this, because if you can answer the attendance form, this will serve as your ticket to the raffle. So we will be giving away Google Home Mini. Very, very exciting prize. So we'll give you at least 5 minutes to answer the form, maybe, or 2 to 3 minutes to answer the form. So it's a quick survey, or it's a quick Google form that you can answer.
All right. So maybe while our audience is answering, I think I have a question for you, Kurt.
Okay, go.
So, what was your key takeaway based from our first two speakers this afternoon, or maybe your favorite takeaway? Like, what did
Yeah.
you learn?
Okay. So I think what I learned is, it's really good to solve problems in terms of accessibility. I've always been a fan of diversity and inclusion and, accessibility. And I think all of these technologies, will really be a great help to our society, not just for the many, but for even for those who are in the little groups, in that micro group
Yeah,
that they
the
don't
marginalized
feel
sector.
yes, the marginalized sector, that they don't feel being important or being part of the conversation. So it's, I think for me, that's a very good step for us to really just focus also on helping those marginalized and providing them solutions so that they can also progress in their own ways, in their own groups, right? So that's my very, very good learning, that we have a lot of, we still have a long way to go before we can achieve fully that. But I'm hoping soon that we will have that kind of passion from a lot of developers, especially in the technology industry. In creating solutions for our friends in the marginalized sector. How about you, Anna? What do you think is your key takeaways?
Yeah. So yeah, I think my key takeaway is that there should be more conversations about how we could use technology for good in terms of making things more accessible to people with disabilities, or increasing, like, let's say, internet connectivity, so that even those who are like living in the mountains or outside the metro would be able to access things that could make their lives easier. So as we've experienced, or as we all know, the COVID pandemic forced the whole world to go through a rapid digital transformation. But I think what a lot of people didn't realize, or maybe missed here, is that not everybody is technologically savvy, or maybe not everyone has access to such devices that could help them adjust to the so-called new normal. So I'm actually looking forward to the future, the new technologies or the new apps that our very passionate developers are working on, and hopefully will be releasing in the near future. So, I'm sure by now our audience have finished their attendance
Answering
report.
the form. Let's see from our tabulator. Do we have a winner, or do we need more time? Oh, okay. We have a winner of again, I have to read because I don't want to make mistake for winners and prizes.
Right.
Our winner for the Google Home Mini for this raffle by answering our attendance, and thank you again to our viewers for joining us this afternoon, is none other than Timothy Kyle Manabat.
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay, so how will Timothy Kalmanabat receive his prize? Their
So,
prize?
Timothy Kyle Manabat, so please make sure to send us a message in AI Pilipinas FB group or FB page, and then we'll get in touch with you and we'll share with you how you will claim your prizes. And so that's, I think, yeah, you just need to send us your number and email address via the Facebook page.
All right. So now that we have a winner, what's next in our agenda?
Yes, Anna, and we also had our contest before during the period, of submitting their TensorFlow projects by answering a particular question in our Facebook page on what kind of technology do they think we can help solve a particular problem. No, so we will announce the winners for the t-shirts soon. So just please stay tuned on our FB page to know if you are one of the lucky winners of the TensorFlow t-shirts. And I think we're good. So before we end this afternoon, let's call someone for our closing remarks. Go, Anna.
Yes, so before we end our activity, may we call on Senti AI's founder and CEO, Mr. Ralph Regalado, to end this event.
Ayun lang. So, thank you everyone for attending, and thanks for the creative ideas who have joined the contest, and we appreciate your time in spending learning and creating these amazing applications, and we hope that this trigger light in terms of how you can contribute and how can you do more towards the community, and to also like help you grow in the career in the space of like artificial intelligence and machine learning. And we do hope that such program was helpful for you. And yeah, thank you so much. And that's it. And I'm happy to seeing those amazing applications making an impact, and hopefully we can hear your stories moving forward, and we hope to see more coming from you throughout the months and throughout the years as you grow and progress in machine learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ralph. So echoing what he said, we hope to see more developers making a change in this world. We know that we have very passionate students and young developers who are probably already in the field practicing their craft. So yeah, maybe we can hope to see more apps helping the blind see like their bills, and maybe in the future help them detect if the money is fake or not.
Yeah, and I'm very, very much excited to see those innovations that can help solve the world's biggest problem. And hope to see everyone soon. And please stay tuned for more projects and programs under the AI Pilipinas. And we would like to thank, of course, our sponsors and our supporters for this project, for TensorFlow Project Showcase, the TensorFlow Group, and the Google developer experts, of course, and the community in Google. So maraming salamat po sa inyo. And of course, our speakers for today, we have Ralph Regalado from Senti AI, also a Google developer expert, Kshitiz Rimal the co-founder for AI for Development and also a Google developer expert for machine learning. We have also Laurence Moorey, the lead artificial intelligence advocate from Google San Francisco. And of course, to my beautiful partner here. So partner, thank you so much for being with us
Right.
this
Thank you,
afternoon.
Kurt. Right.
Of course.
Just
So
in
my
time for
name,
dinner.
yes. So again, my name is Kurt Silvano, your IT project manager from Senti AI, and
Anna Magato, marketing associate for Senti AI.
and we say
And-
goodbye and see you soon. Thank you so much,
Right.
everyone.
Thank you all. Have a happy weekend.